Hello students, welcome to the last art project of the Snowflake series. This is also the last art lesson we will be working on for 2020, so give this your most creative effort and let's have some fun. Today we will be making a stained glass snowflake. This is the perfect present to give to someone really special this holiday season. Here is a picture of the supplies you will be needing for this project. A picture frame with glass you can paint over, a printout of a snowflake that will fit into the frame, permanent marker, acrylic paint, puffy paint, a paintbrush, clear liquid glue, scissors, a plate to mix your paints, and a cup to fill with water and clean your paintbrush. Here is a photo of supplies you do not need but would be very helpful to have. Tape to hold your work in place, extra paintbrushes, paper towel to dry your paintbrushes as you clean them in between uses, a utensil to mix your paints with the glue, like a chopstick or popsicle stick. Here I have a mini paint spatula, and scrap paper to protect your work surface. If you do not have scrap paper to paint over, you could also use a baking sheet to paint. Just make sure you keep your workspace safe from any water or paint spills. Also, if you have any other acrylic paints at home other than the ones you have been provided with, feel free to use them for this project as well. The first thing I am going to do is decide which snowflake I want to trace for my stained glass. I decided on this one because it has diamond details I can paint in the middle. I am going to cut this one out and set the other one aside. Make sure the snowflake fits in the middle of the glass. Remove the glass from the frame. Set the frame and the backing aside. Feel free to tape the glass onto the paper so the snowflake doesn't move as you trace it. Take your permanent marker and trace your snowflake onto the glass. Once you are finished, remove the printout and set it aside. Time to paint. Here you will need your paintbrushes, the scrap paper to protect your workspace, a cup of water, paper towel, your paints, the liquid glue, and a plate to mix the paints. I'm actually going to use this paint palette I have at home to mix my paint and glue. To make the stained glass effect, we will be mixing 2 parts glue to 1 part paint. This will make your paint a little bit more translucent, and light will be able to shine through your piece better. I am going to begin by placing a drop of white paint into a large portion of clear glue. You do not need too much paint, just a drop. Do not pour the paint out. Just scoop a little bit with your mixing tool and drop it into a portion of clear glue. Mix the two really well together. If you do not have a mixing tool, you can mix the glue and paint with the opposite end of your paintbrush. Once it is mixed well, begin painting your snowflake. Now I am going to paint the background of my painting. I went ahead and added a couple drops of blue to my clear glue, but I can already see that it's going to be too dark for my liking. And I have a lot of white paint and glue mixture left over, so I'm going to mix the two together to create a lighter blue. Now that I have it to the shade I like, it is time to paint the background around the snowflake. Be careful not to paint over the snowflake, and make sure you have something protecting your painting from your work surface, because you will be painting all the way to the edge. Your paint might bubble and separate because of the glue mixture, and that's okay. You can let it go and have the separated paint be a part of your piece. Or you can paint over it and try to smooth out the bubbles. Once you are satisfied with your background, set it aside for a few minutes and let it dry just for a little bit. I still have these diamond shapes to paint in the middle, so now I am going to take this turquoise paint I have from home and add it to some glue. I also have the blue paint mixture left over from the background, so I'm going to mix a little bit of the two and see what happens. Normally you would want to paint from light paint to dark, so your paints work well together. But the white paint on my snowflake has already dried, so this light blue will not bleed through and mix with the white. These diamond shapes are very small spaces to work with, so I am going to carefully stipple and brush tiny strokes of paint into the shape. To stipple means to lightly tap the paint repeatedly into the shape rather than just brushing it in. Now that the paint is starting to dry, I can see where some of the paint is separating and peeling back. I'm going to use the leftover paint I have to paint over some of the paint separation. Let's set our artwork aside for a little bit and our paints. Don't rinse the paint and glue mixture yet. You might need it later for some finishing touches. Now let's bring out our Puffy Paint. We are going to use our Puffy Paint to outline the snowflake. The Puffy Paint is going to take the longest to dry because it is so thick. The more Puffy Paint you place in one spot, the longer it will take to dry. Puffy paint can be a little tricky to work with. It is good to practice on a separate sheet of paper to know how much pressure is needed to let the paint out. So here I am going to practice a few lines, dots, and other designs to see what it takes to achieve the pattern I want. Be careful as you outline, because your artwork might still be wet. It is also very difficult to remove any puffy paint, so use very light pressure and take your time. I have finished outlining my snowflake, and now I am going to work on the diamonds inside the snowflake. Instead of outlining them with a solid line, I'm going to outline them with dots. You could stop here, but I think we should take advantage of the puffy paint we have and get really creative. You have so much empty background space. Add swirls, squares, dots, zigzags, anything you want. Just be careful not to smudge the puffy paint. Once you are finished with the puffy paint, your painting is complete. It will be best to leave this to dry overnight, as the puffy paint will take a while to dry. But while you are finishing your painting, let me show you what the next steps will be to complete your artwork once it is dry. Here is my finished painting. I let it dry overnight to make sure the puffy paint is completely dry to the touch, and now that it is, I am going to bring back the frame. You could add the backing to it. What's nice about adding the backing is it would give your painting a proper stand. You can frame it with the puffy paint on the outside, which would give your painting great texture to feel. However, if you want to make this painting a true stained glass sun catcher, frame the painting without the backing as I am doing here. This way, you can lean your painting against a lamp or a window and let light shine through it. I am going to have the puffy paint be on the main side of the frame so you can feel the bumps from the puffy paint. Close it up, and now you can either add a hook to the back to hang near a lamp, or lean it against a window and it will make a great sun catcher against the light. Here is what my painting looks like against artificial light. If you made this painting as a gift for someone, the school has provided you with a paper bag, tissue paper, and ribbon. I am going to show you how to present this as a pretty gift for someone. First, we are going to open this bag up and set it aside. Remember the snowflake printout we used for our painting? I cut mine out into a nice shape, colored it in to match my painting, and now I'm going to use this as my greeting card. I'm going to write a little note for the recipient of this present on the other side of this card. I'm going to set that aside, open up my tissue paper, and lay it out flat. Take one corner of the tissue paper and bring it up and forward like this, where you will have 2 points at the top. Take one side of the shape, bring it across, then fold it back and forth into an accordion fold like this. I like folding my tissue paper like this so that when you place it in the bag, it will fluff up nicely on its own. Place the frame into the bag, place the tissue paper over it, then add your greeting card. Tie your ribbon into a bow. My ribbon is super long, so I'm going to fold it in half and then create a bow, tying the two handles together to create 4 loops instead of 2. If you want to get really fancy, you can take closed scissors, take one strand of ribbon, press the ribbon against the scissors with your fingers, then with the opposite hand, hold the ribbon closest to the bow. Then pull the scissors and press the ribbon away from the bow really quickly to make your ribbon strands curly. Do this to each strand. If you fold your ribbon in half to create a double ribbon as I did, you will have a loop that you will need to cut to create 4 curled strands. Fluff the tissue as you need to make sure the painting is covered. Now you have a nice gift wrapped for your loved one. I hope your painting turned out the way you wanted it to, if not better. All stained glass pieces are unique and special. Whoever ends up receiving this gift will know the hard work you put into making this beautiful work of art. I want to thank you for participating with me on all our art projects so far. I hope it has been as much fun for you as it has been for me. We have created a lot of amazing works of art together this fall season, and I have a lot more in store for you in the new year. For now, enjoy your holiday break, and I will see you next time. Take care and stay creative.